Introduction. I've made myself a millionaire by buying and selling real estate. I was a millionaire before most of my friends got out of college, yet I never finished high school. I don't have rich parents, far from it, as you'll soon read, but here I am, self-made millionaire. I am about to share with you how you can do it too. Please, when reading, remember that everything I have written is true. I've done it, I'm still doing it. And it wasn't any one deal that made me rich. It was lots and lots of little deals, one at a time, doing the same thing over and over again and again. When I started, I was completely broke and without any credit. So pay attention, because if you follow my method faithfully, I know you will get results. Why am I publishing this book? I created my YouTube channel, Flip Anything USA, and wrote this book so you can learn from me and get started immediately. I've been one of the luckiest guys I know to stumble onto the power of real estate at a very young age. Let me explain why discovering this power was so incredibly important to me and why I want to give this knowledge to you. When I was a child, my father and mother separated, and my dad worked in aircraft at Boeing, Lockheed, and other aircraft companies. He was often laid off. As a result, we would go on welfare programs for a while, and I changed schools mid-year many times. It was never fun. I was regularly ridiculed by other kids for having lame-looking clothing and for getting free lunches. At home, we ate welfare goods, free powdered milk, giant blocks of imitation cheese, Caro syrup, and lots of macaroni and cheese, which I have never liked. As I'm sure you can understand, I was motivated to make money because I knew firsthand what it was like to be poor. My friends went to scouts and cool summer camps. Their families went on nice vacations. My brothers and sisters and I, we all stayed home. So I sold candy at school for a profit as a young kid. As a teenager, I sold bikes and motorcycles and cars. When I found real estate at 19, my eyes opened and the world looked very bright. I woke up and smelled the real estate. I dropped out of high school at 17. After taking my GED, I passed. I learned a few months later. I immediately went to work in a cabinet shop milling wood. I would run sheets of plywood and hardwood through saws all day, and later learned how to draw cabinets and assemble them with glue and nail guns. Unfortunately, 18 months later, my boss and his business went under due to the economy, some marital issues, and other problems. He laid me off, and I began working as a self-employed cabinet maker from the garage of my duplex. My business was called Tom's Custom Cabinets. I quickly outgrew the one-car garage and rented a small space in a large metal building. Less than a year later, I had to move again as the landlord was expanding the neighbor's space. I rented another small building but could not afford it. I had to move into the building and live in an office. When that landlord found out I was living in the building, he said, quote, "Tom, you can't live here. If this building burns down, you'll die and I'll get sued," end quote. So back to the real estate ads I went. Again, there I found Mr. Dennis, a young realtor about 30 years old. He drove me around to see rentals and then said, hey, he had another property for sale they might also rent. He drove me to my old employer's building where I had originally learned my skills. Only a year and a half had passed. He explained that they had foreclosed on my old employer and they wanted to get rid of the property badly. He suggested that I buy it. I explained I was broke with no credit. He said they were flexible. This is where I learned about owner financing. So we made an offer in which I would have 6 months to buy the property. I would need $10,000 down and the owner would then carry the note. This way I could occupy the building rent-free in order to save the $10,000 required to buy. They accepted the offer and I moved in. It was a very difficult time, but I did scrape together the $10,000. This was only possible because I lived in the building and no longer had to rent either a home or a place of business. After I paid the down payment and we closed, life was still tough because now I had an $1,100 payment to meet each month. My friends were working and dating and having fun, and I was married to my business. I worked 12 to 15 hours a day with no dates. It was just me, my dog, and my dreams of success. I'm going to get off the book here for a second. I'll tell you a little story. I had a little dog, pup. I had a dog for 12 years when I moved into that building. I had that dog since I was, like 10. And when I turned 21 in that building, my dog, pup, actually died that night. But anyways, it was a great little dog, but it was just kind of weird. She'd actually died the same night of my birthday. But anyways, really interesting. In fact, I lost my dog because imagine I'm living in an industrial building, and you know, and it's other industrial buildings all around me. But I opened up the side door and I would let my dog out, and she was a really good dog, and she would actually stay close to the door. She'd be in the bushes and that sort of thing, and she'd scratch on the door. And well, one night I let her out, and just for a couple minutes, and I came back out, and she was gone, and I was sick. I looked for her for hours, couldn't find her, and ended up around midnight. I decided I was going to go have a drink, and I was 21. I must have been, well, no, I couldn't have been 21. Well, you learned a little bit about me. I probably got a fake ID. Anyways, I went to one of the local places that I would go to, and went there and drove through the parking lot. I was still worried about my dog, and this is miles away. And I said, I'm just going to go back home. And I drove back, and I went out the back parking lot of this place, which I never usually drive. And I pull up to the sidewalk, about to pull onto the street, and I couldn't believe it. I look over to my right, and it's my dog. My dog is walking down the sidewalk, tongue's hanging out of her mouth. She's panting. She's scared. It's like 1:00 in the morning. Couldn't believe it. I got out and grabbed her and put her in my truck, and never let her out alone without me again until she finally died. Anyways, okay, back to the book. My building was next to another building where a company called Whirly Ball moved in. They had what were basically bumper cars and small lacrosse-type rackets. There was a goal at each end of this indoor field, and the players would whip the ball around from their rackets to each other and ultimately into the goal, which was a small opening at each end of the indoor playing field. There was a beautiful girl named Sandy who worked at the concession stand. She had blue eyes and long strawberry blonde hair. I would walk over from my cabinet shop covered in sweat and buy a large Coke from her occasionally. Even though I had purchased my big building, my self-esteem was low. I was broke and struggling and was afraid to ask her out. I had sold my Camaro, and now I had only my work truck. I was living in the building out of an ice chest and in a large office with a couch, no sink, and a very rough-looking shower. Well, one day I got a knock on the door at about 6 p.m., and it was Sandy. She had her chihuahua in her hand, Scooby. She asked me if I would take care of her dog until she got off work at 9 p.m. I stood in the doorway so she would not see in. I did not invite her in as I was embarrassed by my living conditions. I took the dog and said, okay, I'll see you at 9. She returned and was very grateful, and I could tell she liked me and was waiting to be invited inside. Regrettably, I was so uncomfortable with the way my place appeared that I just talked to her for a while and handed her Scooby. She assumed I had no interest in her. She left. A couple years later, I saw her. She was still beautiful, but had been married and separated. She was living with a boyfriend and also with twin 2-year-olds. Unfortunately, she also had a black eye. This was a very low time for me. Struggling, never getting to know a sweet girl I liked and who liked me, my fear got in the way. So I learned a couple of early lessons right there. Never let fear get in the way. She would have loved me regardless of my living conditions. When opportunity presents itself, take it. I'll get off book here just for a second. So this Sandy, I'm going to go over there and get these sodas from her. I don't know if we'll put this in the book or not, but anyways, one day I went over there. I'm just sweaty, covered in dirt, and she's wearing a little sundress and the buttons down the front. And we ordered, I'd order like a 32-ounce Coke, and I was getting one for one of the workers for me too. So I ordered two big Cokes. So she turns her back to me, fills these 2 giant cups up with ice, and then she can barely get her hands around them to pick these up, but she picks them both up at the same time. And then when she stands up and turns to me, her dress unbuttons from the top all the way down to her waist and falls down. And she's standing there holding these 2 huge Cokes, and she is completely naked from the waist up. And of course, I was just in shock. And I remember she screams at me. She goes, "Turn around." Anyways, I averted my eyes and she put them down. But anyways, it made me love her even more, to be honest. But anyhow, back to the book. While I love my life today and would not change a thing, I will never forget the opportunity we both lost that day. Now back to real estate and making money. I will begin the book by telling you how I did it. This will be in the form of a letter, as if you were one of my best friends who had asked me how I became so successful. Then I will give you some insights on things that are and are not important. I will also give you some tips on getting organized and some advice on what else you need to do to get started. You'll also learn about a valuable and easy-to-use app I created for both iPhone and Android that makes tracking and sharing good real estate deals easy. Whether you're a novice or an experienced investor, it is important that you read straight through the entire book, at least one time, because if you don't, you may miss some very useful information. I am going to tell you specifically what it is you need to do step by step. As you read on, it will start falling together for you. You will learn quickly. I am a firm believer that time kills deals. Today, I have a father and a grandmother who both passed away from Alzheimer's disease. My mother is also suffering from dementia. I have 4 kids. My 2 daughters are in college and too busy to be interested in real estate at this time. My twin boys are interested, but a little young to begin. So there is a chance I may lose my window to teach my kids all that I know should I get similarly stricken. Time is not in my favor, and what I know could disappear thanks to a failing memory. Between videos recording my life as an investor on YouTube and this book, I've found a way to pass on what I've learned. I have them covered, and this guide will be here waiting for them when they're ready. When I was younger, I would not share a thing with anyone who I felt could pose a threat to my own deals. That attitude has changed for me. I now find it rewarding to share and help others. I am no longer concerned about losing deals, as I already have more than enough wealth to last many lifetimes. So for those interested, here is a chance to follow my footsteps and create your own wealth. Again, please email me and register as a book buyer. By doing so, you will be on my VIP list and will get access to new videos created and any other special offers I may have in the future regarding owner financing and other opportunities. My email address, again, is tom@flipanythingusa.com.
To keep listening to this audiobook, I've left you a link in the description so you can do it at no cost thanks to Audible's 30-day free trial.